I've just found out that Matt Doherty is starting in right wing for Ireland, so this is a very, very welcome distraction for me. Hello and welcome back to Matt's Tottenham blog and to this first special episode of a four-parter series that we're going to be doing over the next week or so. Transfer Special is looking at 4 different areas of the pitch, each in every single episode. And tonight we're starting, as you would, with goalkeepers. We're going to touch on the future of Hugo Lloris, whether Paulo Gazzaniga has a future at Spurs, and also looking at our targets, going in depth on Mike Maignan, and also looking at the likes of Dean Henderson, Nick Pope, Sam Johnstone, Alphonse Areola, and Gigi Donnarumma. Before we do get into that, if you are new to the channel and you want more of these videos plus live Tottenham watch-alongs, the Tottenham Fan Voice podcast, and any other Spurs content you could want, make sure to smash that subscribe button down below and give a like on the stream. Before we get into it as well, let's introduce our panel. First off, we've got Dakota. Dakota tuning in from America. How are you today?
Yeah, man, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back on the channel. Good to be back on with you and Charlie, who I've been on before, and great to be on first time with Bob. Real excited to talk goalkeepers with you guys today.
Yeah, Dakota, thank you so much for your time today, and as always, it is a pleasure having you on. Charlie, it's been a while. How are you?
Yeah, good, Matt. I'm just about recovered from Thursday. I'm not even sure if I have because we're out Europa League, and that's just made me very depressed, really. But yeah, look, apart from that, I'm doing well. Always a pleasure to be on. And yeah, make sure everyone watching go and smash the subscribe button because this is a quality channel, I'll tell you that.
Thanks very much, Charlie. Really appreciate that. And speaking of a quality channel, one that's up and coming, new to the scene, but he's been all around the place already in all the channels. Bobby, absolute pleasure to have you on today. How are you getting on?
No, thank you, mate. My first time all round. I've done a video for your channel before, Matt, but never been on the channel with you. Likewise, Charlie and Dakota. No, honour, absolute honour.
Same to you. Thank you very much for your time today, all three of you. I do massively appreciate it. But look, let's dive into things. The future of Hugo Lloris is something that is of big concern for Spurs fans, and I'm sure for the Spurs coaching staff now as well. There are various rumours suggesting Hugo Lloris may be looking for a move away from the club this summer. And then we all saw that interview from him last week, and people are kind of taking different approaches to it. One is he loves his club and he wants things to be fixed, and another is he's just kind of sick of what's going on. Just to look at the rumours, there's a Telefootball are reporting that Nice are apparently looking to bring him back to France, the team, of course, the city he's from, the team that he did start his career with, maybe going back there for to see out his career. There are various reports that PSG are interested in bringing the French captain to the capital. I think the main pull there is to the potential for him to go on and win a trophy with Mauricio Pochettino, something, of course, he failed to do during his time at Spurs. And L'Equipe are actually reporting in the last couple of days that Manchester United are interested in bringing Hugo Lloris to Old Trafford. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's a far-fetched one. They're just looking for clicks and people to look at them, and I don't think it's going to work. But look, let's dive into Lloris. He's getting old. He's error-prone. He's past his prime. I think it's maybe a harsh way to look at the situation of a player who has done so much for our football club. But in the way we are now, there's no room for nostalgia. We have to look at the future and try and build the squad that we have in place. Dakota, I'm going to come to you first. I'm going to put it as basically as I can. Do you think Lloris will be at Spurs next season?
I think I would like for Lloris to be at Spurs next season. That's not really a question you asked, is it? It's do I think he will? And, with the rumors kind of circulating around and you mentioned his comments can be taken a couple different ways of, he loves the club and he wants things to be good, or he's just tired of it. Why can't it be both? Why can't he love the club and also feel that it's time to move on? And I think that's kind of where Hugo is at. So I think if PSG come knocking on the door, I think he's going to go knock on Daniel Levy's door and say, hey, I think I'd like to go with Mauricio and go try to win something in France. I think that would just be really special for Hugo. And I think he values those things. I think he is kind of a sentimental guy, and I think it would hurt him to leave Spurs, but I think it would be more positive in his mind for him to go win a trophy. And I think Nice would be a storybook ending to his career, but I think he wants to go lift a couple trophies, maybe even a big-eared one at PSG before he goes and plays a season or a season and a half at Nice to wrap it up. So I don't think so, and that's kind of hurtful to myself to say. But yeah, I don't think Lloris is going to have a cockerel on his chest next year.
Yeah, look, I think whenever any player leaves, when they've been at the club for so long, the majority of the time, even when it's bad, it does kind of have that feeling of pain to it. I think we won't be in a similar boat when the likes of Danny Rose leaves. I think the sooner he goes, the better. But there always will be a feeling of nostalgia and looking back at the very good times he's had at the club. But with Lloris, as Wayne here says, I think Hugo will leave, and I won't hold it against him. And Charlie, I think that's a very fair point, because he's someone who has given the best part of his career to Spurs. Signed from Lyon back in 2012 as a young, I wouldn't say he was a prospect, because he was a very good goalkeeper at that time, but he knew he had the world at his feet. He chose Spurs. He stuck through some very bad times, got to go through some very good times, but never prospered in the shape of trophies. Do you think for Hugo Lloris that he may feel as though his time at Spurs was, and some people may not like this question, but do you think he may feel as a way that he wasted his career? Because look at what he's won with the national team at Spurs. Could he have had a better club career, do you think?
I think, look, with Hugo Lloris, I think that's definitely a topic which is definitely high among the fan base around the club at the moment. Obviously, we know Lloris, he's been in 9 years, fantastic servant to the club, been for the most part, a great goalkeeper for us. I think the fact that he stayed for this long, I think there were opportunities for him to move to, at the time, better clubs earlier on in his tenure. I believe it was 2015, the likes of Madrid and PSG were sniffing around at that time. So he could have gone to better teams at that time, but he chose to stay. He chose to stay loyal. So that's something I'll always credit him for. But look, if he ends up leaving with no silverware, that's just gutting. It really is gutting. I think for a player that's been here so long, for a player of his quality, for a player that's won the World Cup as well, and we mustn't forget, it would be quite damaging. But look, in terms of is his time up here, I think, look, you have to first of all look at the contract situation. His contract is up in 18 months. Unless he's going to sign a new contract, which we've heard no indication of whatsoever, I think maybe because of his age, 34, maybe if he's not going to sign that contract, I think it's best we cash in, because we don't want to lose him for free. Obviously, if he wants to stay and see out his contract, I don't think I would hold that against him. But I think for the benefit of the club, for the benefit of us moving forward, I think if there's going to be no contract there, I think maybe it's best to sell him in the summer, considering his age and sort of a few mistakes have been creeping in lately. So, look, obviously, if he does go, I wish him well. Been a fantastic servant to our club. You don't get that loyalty a lot nowadays in football. So, yeah, definitely a fantastic servant, as I said. And hopefully, whether he moves on or not, hopefully he'll be remembered by us for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he will always be a club legend. He'll be in the hearts of the fans, as our captain for so long as well. I think he does hold that kind of special place in our hearts. And you used the phrase there, moving forward, second, which I do want to touch on in a minute. But Bobby, the main criticism Hugo Lloris has gotten this season and throughout his time at Spurs is he's prone to make errors. And I was looking at the stats. His Premier League average from the first day he played for Spurs, he's averaged an error leading to a goal once every 15.2 games. However, this season, he's only made one in 29 games. So do you think, as a goalkeeper, the fact that he's aging, he may be scapegoated a bit by the fans? Because, look, in the way we're playing, I think there's more pressure on him than there ever has been before. But if you're looking at those bare numbers of the main problem we've had with him, and the fact that that's actually improved almost twofold this season, do you think he's been scapegoated a bit, or do you genuinely think there's been a decline in his form, maybe down to age?
Personally, no, I don't think there's been a decline as such. But it's common knowledge that every goalkeeper mistake will be highlighted, especially in today's game with cameras literally everywhere on the ground. If the unbelievable happens and we do get a couple of defenders, I know this is probably jumping the gun a bit, but if I'm looking at Lloris, and if we are going to get a couple of defenders in, 2 or 3 potentially, for me, his experience might be vital for staying another season. If we've got a new lineup in front of him, to have a new goalkeeper and a couple of defenders might not work for us. So, and there's every chance Lloris might stand back and see how we do in the summer. So, do I think he'll go? Yes, I do. Having said all that, but there's every chance. Don't be surprised if he does decide to give it another year, if we do invest in guys in front of him, because, like I say, his experience could be vital if that happens.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I think there's a lot of players you can look at, maybe getting in 10-15 million pounds for him this summer, or you could, if you are going to bring in, look, Mike Maignan, we'll touch on in a second, but any goalkeeper really, especially if it is going to be a younger sort of player, having Lloris on the training ground, having Lloris on the sideline, and being that influence around him could be pivotal, not only for the development of his game, but for settling into the club and for becoming a Spurs player rather than just a goalkeeper, if that does make sense. Dakota, Flametower here says, would Levy let him run out his contract in order to not buy a goalkeeper this window? Look, as a lot of things with Spurs, this could simply come down to how Daniel Levy feels the best way to approach this in a business sense is. Would you be happy if perhaps we kept Lloris for one more season, let him go on a free next summer to have more time to scout a goalkeeper? Or do you think we're in a situation now where if we can say definitely that Lloris will not be staying beyond next year, we should probably just seek a better goalkeeper now?
Yeah, I think that would be severe business malpractice if Daniel Levy let that happen. I think regardless, we need to sign a goalkeeper this summer, regardless of what happens, whether Hugo is staying or whether he's going to stay out next year and leave on a free next summer. We need to sign a first choice goalkeeper this summer. And I'm fine if we sign someone and loan them back to their club for next year and they don't even sit on the bench. I don't even care about that. The reality of the situation is Hugo Lloris he's going to leave at least next summer regardless, because like Charlie said, we've heard not about Hugo signing a new contract. And we've even heard a few reports to the contrary that he's not going to sign a new contract. So goalkeeper, in the midst of all of our other issues that we have in this squad, which Matt, you're going to have the pleasure of talking about it all weekend. I think goalkeeper needs to be our top priority because we have a world-class goalkeeper walking out the door. And our backup goalkeeper, who we have loaned out, can't even get minutes at a relegation-threatened side in La Liga. We have a huge issue on our hands.
Yeah,
Matt, do you think it'd be a bit unfair though if Lloris really was adamant on wanting to leave and Levy decide to think no, we're going to keep you for another season and let you leave at the end of the contract? Surely Lloris has built enough credit to actually for Levy to say, you know what, whatever you want, and for nearly a decade he's been with us. So it's certainly a bit of a credit to say, look, leave the decision to him, and if he wants to go now, fair enough. And if Lloris might turn around and say, look, I want a bigger paycheck, I reckon the decision should really be left with Lloris. He deserves that. I don't know what maybe I'm just thinking too sentimentally.
No, I fully agree with you. And if any other football club in the world, any other owner or chairman, whatever you want to call him, I would say that could very well be the case. But with Daniel Levy, I think we've seen it in the past. I'm sure, it's just he makes the best decision for himself and for the football club, which I suppose is a weird thing for us to criticize as fans. We do want the best for the football club, which is what he is trying to do. But I think there are times when the player and the kind of loyalty they've shown to the club does have to take precedence, and this could very well be one of those situations. Kev Williams here with the £2 super chat says several players not been right since the Champions League final, and look, Lloris could definitely be one of them. I'll touch on this in a sec, but for anyone else, if you do want your questions answered, your comments discussed, I can guarantee they'll be read out if you do send in a super chat. It's also a fantastic way to support the channel. It helps us keep going that bit more. If you want to hit that dollar sign beside the live chat, that would really, really help us out. And Charlie, I saw a comment there a second ago as well saying Lloris hasn't been the same since the driving ban that he got when he was done for drink driving. Do you think there have been things that have impacted Lloris from outside of football that have maybe affected his performances on the pitch?
I don't know if you can point it all down to that drink driving thing, because that was ages ago, wasn't it? That was back in 2018. Yes, I do agree in the sense that over the last couple of years, especially that season, actually, when he had the driving ban, I thought in the first half of that season, his performances dipped. However, when we were on that run in the Champions League, saving those penalties against Man City, I thought his form did go up a bit. However, the following season, we saw when Poch went and stuff, I thought before he got that injury, as we know, I thought his form really plummeted that first half of that season. I thought, to be fair, that was possibly the worst I've seen Lloris just before he got that injury. However, when he came back from that injury, I think he's been second to none, really. I think he's been absolutely phenomenal for the second half of last season and the first half of this season, barring a dip that he has had recently against Liverpool, those two mistakes he made. You saw against, I think it was, can't remember the other one, but there's just been more mistakes creeping back into his game recently, which has been a bit concerning. So, look, it's a weird one because if you can't really pinpoint it down to one incident, but I think it could be a number of things. You never know. The World Cup, when he won the World Cup, he might be thinking, well, this is the top of football for me, and he might be a bit less motivated. You never know. So look, it's an interesting one. I think Jose, it was weird because I don't understand really where the errors have come from lately, because as I said, first half of this season he was really second to none. I was really impressed with him. His coming for crosses is something that certainly improved his just the fact that under Jose we don't play sort of tippy-tappy as much as we did under Poch, where he has to play out from the back, which I think has definitely helped him. But as I said, the interview as well I want to touch on, I thought that was absolutely fantastic. I really, really like that. He spoke out. He said it as it is, really. That's what he said is just a pure definition of everything that's going on at our club, and everything that needs to be addressed. And I'm happy he came out and said it. Whether that means whether that means if he wants to stay and try and fix it, or he wants to go because of the mess we're in, I don't know. But the fact he said it, for me, is definitely it was important that he said it. And I think someone within the club had to come out and say it sooner or later. Yeah,
I fully agree. I was a massive fan of that interview from Hugo Lloris, and I think a lot of fans are saying with regards to what Gareth Bale has said over international duty, and I know there's split opinions among the fan base. So there's split opinions among this panel about what he said. But people are kind of comparing the two of them, and I think the nature of how it's said and perhaps the timing is for me what kind of differentiates between the two of them. You know, with Gareth Bale saying it was good to mentally get away from the Spurs environment. But look, the point you made a while ago, Charlie, was about moving forward, and for me, this decision with Hugo Lloris comes down to what exactly is Jose Mourinho's intent at this club. If it is short-term success, as it has always been at every club he's been at, then yes, we need to keep Lloris. But if he genuinely wants to build something at this club and genuinely move us forward, I think we do have to cut our losses with Lloris this summer. And again, it's painful to say, I absolutely love the man. I'm a goalkeeper myself. He is one of my heroes. He is someone who's given everything to this club. He's captained us to a Champions League final. He's had us in title races. He's gotten us to cup finals. And look, if we can end his time at Spurs with the Carabao Cup this April, it's not the biggest trophy in the world, but it's a trophy nonetheless. And I think it could be a good way to see his time at Spurs out. But look, I'm sure this is, again, a debate that will rage on until the end of the season, and maybe even into next season if he does stay. But I want to move on to someone who could potentially be the future of Spurs. And Caleb here is asking, who is this Mike Maignan guy? I've never heard of him. So Maignan is a 25-year-old goalkeeper who currently plays with Lille in the French Ligue 1. Lille's second in the table right now, level on points with PSG, only behind on goal difference, which when you're looking at the monopoly that PSG have had on that division in the last decade or so, it's incredible that a team like Lille is really pushing onto them. And look, Charlie, as you mentioned earlier, with Sven Botman in that team as well. He's not the only player we are looking at. The reports at the moment, the big one is from L'Equipe, saying that Spurs are potentially looking at bringing Maignan to Spurs this summer. He's going into the last year of his contract, and he could be available for a cut price between 20 and 25 million pounds. Now, before we do have a discussion on Maignan, I want to say I did record a video with the Euro expert earlier on. He gave incredible, unrivaled expert analysis into who Maignan is as a goalkeeper. So I'm going to give you a quick sneak peek of that now. That video will be released after the stream is over, but just before we discuss it, let's listen.
About 16, 17, he really started to break through. And since 2016, he's played nearly every minute of league action. And he's really grown into a really strong goalkeeper. And just for his more recent numbers, which you can get into now, in clear numbers, he's kept 28 clean sheets in his last 58 league matches. And for context, that's nearly 50% of his games ending in clean sheets, which is about the same as Ederson for Manchester City, who, of course, including these last 58 matches, that's pretty much one of the best defences in the world at the moment in the last 15 games. So he's been really strong for Lille. And I won't heavily go into deeper statistics because I know some people can turned off by that. But for people like expected goals, he's saved Lille about 8 goals in the past 3 seasons. Just in those raw numbers. So he's really strong there. But it's to get just before we go into the type of goalie he is now, it's worth saying he isn't just kind of like a French prospect or anything. When Chelsea brought Edouard Mendy in, he was a bit more from the unknown. Maignan was Lille's player of the year last season, and their local newspaper, Nord, that I follow quite well, they nearly every week it's Maignan, the invincible, unbelievable goalkeeper. He just keeps being consistent, and he's only made 5 career errors, 1 in each of the last 2 years. So very safe pair of hands.
I think that stat there and the lack of errors is something that will really appease the Spurs fans attitude towards him. Another stat is that this season he has kept 16 clean sheets in the French Ligue 1 and conceding only 19 goals. So his clean sheets and goals conceded are very, very similar there. As well, I messaged Alex about potentially recording a video on him, and he came back and said, "I have the graphs ready, I have the stats ready. He's my favorite player." So I assure you that it's a very good video. Anyone, if you do want to go check that out after the stream. We've got the Irish Hotspur David here tuning in. Says, "Matt, will you watch the Ireland game?" David, like I said, Matt Doherty in right wing. I will not be going anywhere near that match. But look, Dakota, Mike Maignan. Exciting prospect. The numbers are good. Everything points towards him being a fantastic signing. But with Spurs, that's probably where things do go wrong. But what do you make about this potential deal?
Yeah, so Mike Maignan is, he's my guy. I've been, I wouldn't say following Lille, but they're, like I told you guys before we started the stream, they're the team in Ligue 1 that I'm the most aware of their existence week to week. I don't necessarily follow them, but I am very aware of who they are, and I definitely know who Mike Maignan is. It seems like from the interview, the best way to sum that up is he's the man, right? And he's the heir apparent to Hugo Lloris in the French squad. Alphonse Areola might want to put up a fight, but I don't think he's got the Dukes to handle Mike Maignan. So if he's the heir apparent to Hugo in France, why not in for Tottenham Hotspur as well? His contract expires next summer, just like Hugo's. So we know that Daniel Levy loves a 1-year contract special discount. There's a website that I'm sure everybody's familiar with, but I don't think they give you money, Matt. So I'm not going to say their name, but it gives player values, and they have Mike Maignan as 20 million euro valuation. Obviously, he's going to cost a little bit more than that because of how good he is. But this Lille team, they're good from back to front. If we really want to get into it, I would take a lot of players from that squad, not just Mike Maignan. We talked about Sven Botman, Renato Sanchez is in that team. The three Jonathans, as I like to call them, Ikone, Bamba, and David. I would take all 6 of those players and put them in the Spurs squad, and I think they would all fight for a starting spot. So it's just a good team overall, and you kind of wonder if there's a number big enough for Lille to want to blow this project up, because they're challenging PSG in the monopolized Ligue 1. So that 20 million euro valuation from that website is, I think, a little bit low. And if we're going to have to rely on player sales to drive our buys, might be a little hairy.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest concern. I saw someone commenting that there a minute ago. Our signings won't be too good if we do have to sell players to bring in. Before I follow on from your point there, Dakota, we've Holly here tuning in, says, "Evening all, up to Dakota. Tonight my night off from football. Need a break. Work's been hella busy. Keep smashing the content, Matt." Holly, thank you very, very much for that. And anyone, if you haven't already subscribed to Holly's channel, make sure to go over there and give her a subscribe. She's closing in on the 1K, so let's get her there as soon as we can. And Dakota, you touched there on the quality of players in that Lille squad. I don't think we'll see a raid on their squad this summer, but last year or a year and a half ago, we raided their coaching staff. We brought in João Sacramento and Nuno Santos, who were, of course, in charge there. I think both similar roles, assistant manager and goalkeeping coach. And Charlie, how important could that be if we do try and bring Maignan in? If for Nuno Santos, a man who was his goalkeeping coach when he did break through that squad at Lille, do you think they could be really important factors in potentially trying to convince the player to make this move?
Yeah, 100%. And it was something I was actually going to touch on as well when you asked me about Maignan. Is that how you say it? Maignan? His name?
Something like that.
Yeah, Maignan. I'll just go by that. But yeah, definitely.
We learned how to say it in his introduction video in the summer. I'll say that much.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, but I was saying that with Maignan, Sacramento, Nuno Santos, of course, came from Lille. They'll definitely know all about him. That will be a plus for us as well if he does come in. They won't have to sort of learn about him too much because they already know a lot about him. So his bedding in period might be a lot quicker than most players due to the sort of connections he already has with some of our coaching staff. So, yeah, look, in terms of him as a goalkeeper, personally, I haven't seen him play really at all, so I can't comment too much on him. But from what I've heard from your video with Euro Expert and all of the guys here from Dakota telling me a bit about him as well, he definitely sounds a promising goalkeeper. As I said, very young goalkeepers we know can go on for a lot longer than outfield players. So, yeah, he definitely sounds like a good signing. And if what we're hearing is correct and they believe in France that he's sort of the second coming of Hugo Lloris for that national team, then yeah, if we were to bring him in as a Hugo replacement, I'll definitely be all for it.
Yeah, I fully agree with that one. And as you said, 25 years of age, there is a potential there for him to maybe be the next Hugo Lloris, be a player who could be in our first team for a decade. Again, as you said, keepers usually go on that bit longer than outfield players. And one of the most impressive things for me, Bobby, is, as I mentioned, Lille are in that title race in the league. And look, as Dakota said, they do have a fantastic squad in place there. But for any team to compete for a league title, especially in that French league with the monopoly PSG have, you look at Montpellier, who won the league, I think, back in 2012, then Monaco won it 4 or 5 years later. Everything really has to fall into place. And a really important part of that is a reliable goalkeeper. And people have made that point with Spurs this season, that maybe the fear of Lloris with an error or the way he's a bit weak coming off his line could be affecting the team in their overall play, because they always have that feeling of a vulnerability behind them. With Maignan, he obviously isn't that goalkeeper if Lille are doing this well. Do you think that kind of confident, reliable goalkeeper behind us could be a really important addition?
Absolutely. First of all, who knew Ed Sheeran would know so much about European football? He had all know. Sorry, I've seen Alex on a number of channels. Quality guy.
He's outstanding.
Yeah, but he's brilliant. Yeah, I think you're spot on there. We've got to remember Hugo Lloris. If I'm not wrong, he was the original sweeper keeper, wasn't he? He was a big part of his game, and he played in our defence when we were consistently the best defence in the league. My only concern about the keeper is his mentality, and Dakota probably will know a bit more about it than me. Will obviously know a bit more about it. For a goalkeeper, it's such a prominent position. Having the right mentality, I feel, not to be afraid. He's come to a new club, but at the same time, he needs to command the penalty area and command his defenders. Now, does Maignan have that quality about him? Has that mentality about him? They can command that penalty area and the defence. And that's it. But that probably is down to, like, Charlie. We've not seen him play that much, and Dakota probably know that. Well, will know about it more than me.
Yeah, I think he does an okay job. I think he gets, I would say, let off the hook a little bit, because they've got a kind of an older center back that plays in front of him, Jose Fonte, who's their captain, and that guy commands the line. So I think he's just not necessarily as responsible for it as he maybe needs to be. But I think he's got the capability. He's touted as one of the best up and coming, and he's 25. There's an argument that he's already arrived. So maybe he just hasn't had the opportunity to showcase that part of his game as much, because they have such a vocal leader and captain playing right in front of him. But I think the biggest thing with Lille is going to be how much do they trust their next up and coming goalkeeper, Lucas Chevalier. He's 19. He just got promoted from their B team. So how much do they trust him to step in? That he's probably listed as their third choice goalkeeper. They've got a 35-year-old Greek that plays mostly the backup to Maignan. But Chevalier is the next guy, I think, to come through their system. So if they think he's ready, he's only 19. But we're going to touch on Donnarumma earlier. He was ready at 19. Yeah, so if they think that he's ready and he can take it, maybe they'll be more likely to let Maignan walk this summer.
Charlie, do you think it's a bit unrealistic for Levy to go there and offer Lloris plus cash for Maignan and Botman, or is that?
I never know. I think you're a bit optimistic there, Bobby.
That'll be all right, won't it? That'll be all right.
Look, I'm sure we'd take that, but I think that's too much. Too much compromise
Botman, that's for sure. Botman's quality. Definitely take him.
100%.
He's fantastic player. We've Kev Williams here with another £2 super chat. Says thoughts on Steve Hitchen seemed lazy in the dock. Look, I think you'd be hard pushed to find
the better.
You'd be hard pushed to find
hitch out.
Hitch out, exactly. It's not hitch in, it's hitch out. Look, it'd be hard pushed to find a Spurs fan who'd speak highly of him. But look, if he's the man Daniel Levy wants at the club, that's another reason why we shouldn't like him. But look, the story for another day. He's not good at his job anymore, is he? But Kev, thank you very much again for the super chat. We do appreciate that one. Before we move on to any more potential incomings, guys, I want to get a quick word from each of you on the future of Paulo Gazzaniga. Now, I mentioned this to you just before the stream started, and you all started screaming at me. So I think I know your opinions on this already. But Dakota, some Spurs fans suggesting maybe Gazzaniga has been loaned out with a view for him coming in to be our first choice goalkeeper next season. You mentioned the lack of minutes he's getting at Elche. Is this the worst idea that has gone around the Spurs fan base?
I think that's the most ludicrous transfer connected thing that I've ever heard with Spurs. And you've got to keep in mind, I'm still hanging on with every fiber of my being to the Paulo Dybala transfer.
There you go.
and Gazzaniga coming back to be our first choice goalkeeper is more ludicrous than that. Okay, so that's my thoughts.
Love it. Charlie, what do you think on Gazzaniga maybe being our first choice?
No. Same as Dakota, really. I think if that was to happen, I think there'd be riots, because that would just that we know Levy and this board, we know they're tight, but that would take it to a whole new level. Seriously, that would it would be like, for example, if you go back to 2017, if Kane was to leave, they'd put Janssen as our first choice. It would literally be as ludicrous as that. Genuinely. And look, I'm not saying Gazzaniga's a bad goalkeeper. I actually think he should be our second choice instead of Joe Hart, because I think he's a much better keeper than Joe Hart. But at the end of the day, when he got that run in the team, I've never been his biggest fan, Gazzaniga. I know he's done an okay job, but I just think he just... His shot stopping for me, his distribution's good, but his shot stopping for me is really average. I really do believe that, and I think he should be our second choice. But the fact that he's gone out on loan looks like we'll probably look to sell him. That would definitely make the most sense. That if Lloris was to go, we use those funds to go and get a new goalkeeper. But look, I think Gazzaniga, I think it's time that the club's done. I think he'll probably be sold in the summer. But look, if that idea that some fans were saying happens, then I give up. I genuinely would give up. Like, that would be absolutely ludicrous. But as I said, I can't see that happening because of just simply how ludicrous it is.
Yeah, no, that seems fair. Hyperfans Television here says, why this guy Matt talks so fast? I don't know. I've always spoken fast. I've tried to slow it down, but I just can't do it. I think I've just so much to say and not enough time to say it. But Bobby, I'm going to come to you again. And look, I've another error leading to goal stat. We said there, Lloris, an error leading to a goal once every 15.2 games in his Premier League career. Paulo Gazzaniga has won every 6.1 games, so 2.5 times worse than Hugo Lloris in that regard. 6 clean sheets in 43 appearances, and one of my favourite stats ever was actually he's only ever committed 1 foul in the Premier League, and that was when he body slammed whatever Chelsea player it was, and conceded that penalty there last season.
Alonso. Oh, God.
Yeah, Bobby, Gazzaniga's number 1, yes or no?
He's taller than Lloris, isn't he?
That's about it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, he's not getting minutes at Lecce, so if he was smashing it out there and being goalkeeper of the week on a weekly basis, even then we'd think twice about it. So the fact he's not getting any minutes there as well, nah.
I think he's got one, maybe 2 appearances all season. Is that right?
No, he's got 0.
He's got 0.
0. Oh my God!
I thought they gave him a cup game.
No, he hasn't played a minute.
That's worse. Yeah, it's worse. Oh God!
Nah, not really, Matt. It's not doing it for me, mate.
It's probably the worst loan deal done, and that's remember how low was in a few years ago.
Oh God, he's doing all right now. Not Roma these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like 85 rated on FIFA. That's all I know about him. That has to be a good sign. Will here says, I didn't think Gaza was that bad. And Martin says he struggled to game time and stuff. One thing I did want to touch on as well was the 3 English goalkeepers in the Premier League that Spurs are being touted to sign, because as a lot of people said, potentially for the homegrown quota, we may need to bring in Dakota. We'll come to you first, and I've got a big random Nick Pope. What do you think about him as a potential signing for Spurs?
Of the 3, I think he's probably, I'll say, most realistic for us to go after. I think he kind of makes the most sense too. As as great as it would be for us to get Dean Henderson in the side, we've got to look at his situation and realize that United's not letting him go, especially to a rival. There's no way. And Sam Johnstone, we have a saying here in the Southern United States, it's bless his heart. And that's just like, I feel sorry for this guy. He's led in 55 goals this season in 28 Premier League appearances. And it's not necessarily, his fault. He's playing on a really horrible West Brom side. The problem with this scenario is West Brom is definitely going to get relegated, and Daniel Levy his ears are going to perk up and be like, oh, there's an English goalkeeper from a side that just got relegated that people think is kind of good. Let's go ring that doorbell. But yeah, I think Nick Pope is the most realistic, and I think he would kind of fit best in our side too. Bobby talked about wanting someone who commands the back line and has control of his penalty area. Nick Pope is that guy. I would love Mike Maignan. But I've got to be realistic. I will never be realistic about Paulo Dybala. We'll play in a Spurs shirt one day. But with goalkeepers, I'll be a little bit realistic. And Maignan might cost too much. So we've got to take in the English tax with Nick Pope, right? And of course, and factor that into the scenario. But I think we can come out a little bit better financially with Nick Pope, and the homegrown quota is something that we hear about all the time. It's only really a factor for us in Europe. I think we're okay in the Premier League. So maybe that might be something to look at too. If we're even playing in Europe, does it even matter? That's something to think about.
Oh, that's the biggest concern. That could be the worst part. I agree with that. But I think of those three, in terms of balancing who I want the most and who's most realistic, I would also lean towards Nick Pope. Kev Williams here says, Matt, can you name 5 players that have to go and how much we can recoup off them collectively? Kev, I can't do that now, but I will be on the LFC Day Shippers at 10 o'clock this Friday, doing a 3-in 3-out thing for doing for United and for Tottenham. So do make sure to check that out on the Day Shippers on Friday. We've David here as well saying Johnson at the Baggies is a very good goalkeeper. Charlie, I suppose we'll come to you on him. As Dakota said there, 55 goals conceded in the league this season for Johnston. Yes, he's playing in a very weak team, but with that many conceded, do you think that's enough to rule him out for a potential transfer to Spurs?
Look, Johnston, he's a decent keeper. I'd say Johnston. I just don't think he's the level that we need, Sam Johnstone. I really don't. I think he probably, as I said, he's not a bad keeper by any means. He's really not. He's definitely not. Look, as I said, the defence in front of him has been pretty pathetic this season. So I wouldn't put that all down to him. But I just look at him. He's not the level we need. I think as I said, he's out of the 3. I think he'll probably be the cheapest, which might make Levy's ears prick up, unfortunately. But look, Johnston, decent keeper. I think he'd probably do all right for maybe someone like on the Crystal Palace or Wolves, maybe someone like that, or Southampton. I think he'd do well for. But I just don't think he's quite at the level we need. As for the likes of Pope, I think Pope, if Pope was to come in, I'll be pretty happy with that because, as I said, he's done well for Burnley. He's kept the number of clean sheets for them over the last couple of years. And the only concern with Pope for me is that he's 28. He's not the youngest. However, as we've been talking about, goalkeepers do go on for a bit longer, and he's still 6 years younger than Hugo Lloris. So look, Pope would be a decent shout. I think he is a good goalkeeper. I personally think he should be England number 1 ahead of that dinosaur Ramos Pickford, who I just really don't rate whatsoever. I think Pope would definitely be a good shout. 100%. Henderson, I like him as well. Henderson, it's just the thing is, as Dakota said, I think out of the 3, he's probably the most unrealistic because Man United probably won't sell to us. As we know what happened after that Dimitar Berbatov deal, we're never going to sell to them again, as that was clearly stated at the time. So I'm assuming it's probably works both ways. So yeah, I think Pope is definitely realistic. I think you look at someone like Burnley, because they're a Premier League side, they're probably not desperate to sell in terms of their financial situation. So he'd probably cost around 25-30 million, I'd say. I know there's been reports saying 50 million. I don't think he's worth 50 million, but look, if we can get him for 25-30, I think that would be a decent deal for us. So yeah, I think out of the 3, I think Pope is probably the best shout for me.
Yeah, again, agree with you on that one. Anyway, look, everyone in the live chat, let us know between Henderson, Pope and Johnson who your number 1 choice for goalkeeper would be, if it will come down to those 3 for that homegrown quota. In terms of us getting a goalkeeper this summer. But Bobby, Dean Henderson, do you think he could be a good option for Spurs?
No, I think a lot of things have to fall into place for Henderson to even be considered by us. I think there's every chance De Gea might go in the summer, so that puts Henderson at number 1 at United. Like Charlie's just said, it's very unlikely they're going to sell to someone who's going to be in competition with them. Put that to one side. I don't think they're going to have many dealings with Tottenham, and vice versa going forward. All my streams, every time I've been asked about the goalkeepers, I've always said Nick Pope. I've always said Nick Pope, purely and simply. He's tall. I seem to be having some fascination about tall goalkeepers, but it's not a fascination. He is tall, but he's good at commanding his box, which is a necessity, and he's got Premier League experience. And we're hoping he'd probably have a bit more of a quieter life in goal than what he's had at Burnley. Having said that, they've got a good defence as well. So, but yeah, Nick Pope. I've been saying that ever since I started my channel. Nick Pope's always been my number 1, and there's no reason. Like I agree with Charlie. He should be England's number 1. I don't think Pickford's that. He's not even a good keeper in my eyes. Yeah. So, but no. And he might think as well. Matt coming to Tottenham might improve his. Unfortunately, might improve his England chances as well.
Yeah, I do agree on that one as well. And look, it's not often this season that you find a group of 4 Spurs fans who agree on something completely. But I think all of 4 of us here, Nick Pope in a Spurs jersey next season. But as Will here says, I still think Areola is the best budget option. Straight swap with Hugo from PSG. Of course, Alphonse Areola, the goalkeeper currently on loan at Fulham from the French champions for now, PSG. Dakota, you wanted to talk a bit about Areola. You think he'll be a good option for Spurs?
Yeah, if we're looking at teams that are getting relegated, I think he's definitely the option to go after. Obviously, he doesn't belong to Fulham. He's going to go back to PSG, but in some ways that might be even more favorable for us. If Hugo is knocking on Levy's door saying, I want to go to Paris, after a successful season, which, Areola has let in 35 goals and 29 starts, but he's got those 9 clean sheets to his name, playing in a Fulham team that is, I'll say they've gotten a bit unlucky this year. I think there have definitely been points left on the table for them that they haven't necessarily taken advantage of. But, if that's, that's the case, Areola might be wanting to come back to England, and kind of makes sense for all parties involved, right? The best deal is when everyone wins. And that seems like a scenario where everyone wins.
Absolutely. And like those stats you just mentioned there, like 35 goals conceded and 9 clean sheets in a normal season is a good return, but for a keeper in a team fighting relegation is absolutely sensational. And I've spoken a bit about how Fulham, they play good football, and that it's not exactly always effective, but they're stubborn and they're difficult to break down at the back. And I think a lot of that is down to Areola and the experience and the quality that he does bring into that team. So I wouldn't be too opposed to the idea of bringing him in. Charlie, you wanted to touch on Gigi Donnarumma.
Yeah, so Donnarumma is an interesting one. We know a lot about him if you're looking at European football. AC Milan's number 1, only 21 years old, a very, very young goalkeeper. Broke into their side. I think it was 16 he was when he broke into their side for AC Milan. And since then, he's been their number 1. The interesting thing about him is that his contract is up at the end of the season, so he is available on a free transfer. However, the problem is, I think there'll be a lot of interested clubs in for him. I think his wages will be monstrous because we know the situation with his agent Raiola. He can be a pain to deal with, and I think him and Daniel Levy is literally like a match made in hell when it comes to dealing. So look, Donnarumma, I think he's unrealistic. However, he'd definitely be my top choice because I think he's an absolutely brilliant goalkeeper. I think 21, already world class, already top quality, and got so many years left in him. And if he was to come in, he could be our goalkeeper for the next decade or so. He really, really could. So for me, he'd be my first choice personally, Donnarumma, but I just can't see that one happening. As I've seen a few people saying here, potentially interest from Madrid and stuff coming in the summer. So I'm not sure if I can see this one happening. But look, he's an absolutely top class goalkeeper, and for me, if I had to pick, as I said, if I had to pick any goalkeeper to replace Hugo, it'd definitely be him. So yeah, keep an eye on his situation coming in the summer. As I said, there'll be a lot of clubs in for him by the looks of it. So, but yeah, definitely a top keeper, that's for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I apologize again. My connection is all over the place. I apologize that it's affecting this. But Bobby, between Areola and Donnarumma, if you had to bring one of them in to Spurs, who would you pick?
Or Areola's a bit shorter, isn't it? No, again, it's a joke. I think
These tall keepers.
Yeah, I think Areola probably for me, purely and simply, he's got the Premier League experience. I think we can't underestimate how important that is, because it is different to any other league. You know, the crosses, the shots from all angles, the big man up front. Although we're getting less than that, but we have got a few. Speaking about Fulham, you know, personally looking at it, I'll probably take about 4 players from the Fulham side.
Anderson.
I don't know if that's a reflection. You know, there's Anderson, Robinson, the left, Robinson.
Robinson.
The left back.
And he's an American.
Lookman. You know, these are players that I'd actually consider for Spurs, and for a team that's going to go, that's it, yeah. You know, for a team that's going to go down, that's a rare one. But Areola, yeah, I think for us we can judge it on the performances against us, and in both games it's been okay. So Areola for me. Areola for me between the two, but Pope for me is my number one choice.
Yeah. Okay,
so Bobby, you're saying Pope number 1 overall. Dakota, in one name, who would be your dream goalkeeper? Realistic
Pope,
as well this summer.
Pope.
Okay, you said realistic. I'm going to say Nick Pope.
Yeah.
Nick Pope as well. Charlie?
Realistically, Nick Pope, but if you're looking at non-realistically, Donnarumma.
Do you know what? I think we're going to go full house here. I'm going to say Nick Pope as well. Now, realistically, Nick Pope, but if I could pick a dream goalkeeper, I would go with Mike Maignan from Lille. Having spoken to the Euro expert earlier today about this, it's a deal that I think could be absolutely incredible for Spurs. He could be the type of player who could potentially be that long-term replacement for Hugo Lloris. And on the point of Mike Maignan, in the last second, I've just made that video live, the one where we spoke about everything there is to know about him, a European football expert, given his analysis. We had graphs, we had charts, we had stats, we had facts, we had highlights, absolutely everything. So I'm going to spam the link for that video in the live chat now. Everybody, make sure to go over and check that out. Put down in the comments that you've come from this stream as well, so I can let you know about all that. I'll reply to you in the comments and stuff, so do go over and check that out. But before we do wrap this up, Charlie, you have a little something you want to bring?
Yeah, so there's just been some breaking news come out, or maybe not breaking news, but it's a bit of transfer news coming from Sky. It's saying exclusive.
Before you do that, I have a video that I've had here for ages in case I need it that I've never got to use. So we're just going to use that now.
Go on.
Six months that is sitting there. And I haven't
Amazing.
Breaking news.
Charlie, go on.
So it's just come out from Sky now, from Lyle Thomas on Twitter, saying an exclusive piece here saying Tottenham will look into signing Stuttgart forward Nicolas Gonzalez this summer, with Gareth Bale set to return to Real Madrid.
Well, do you know what? I would absolutely love Nicolas Gonzalez. I remember Charlie, me, you, David, and Marcelo did a stream about him a couple of months ago. He could be an incredible player to sign, and I'm sure we'll be talking about that. Yeah, absolutely, and cheap as well. I think the price we were mentioning last in January is about £7 million. I don't know if it will be a bit more than that, but we'll be guaranteed to speak about that on Sunday or Tuesday, whether he's a midfielder or forward. I'll decide later. We'll definitely be chatting about that one. Look, again, that link is there if you want to go check out that Mike Maignan video. But before we do go, we're going to take a little trip around the house. We can plug our socials. We'll start with you, Dakota.
You can find me. Oh,
no, go on, mate. Sorry.
All right, sorry. You can find me at Dakota J Booth on all of the socials. I am part of the Podspur team. You can find us at Tottenham Pod on Twitter, YouTube channel Podspur TV. We've been doing some pre-game lineup talks, and then we record our podcast live shortly after the matches. So go hit that subscribe button. Come hang with us. We're a bunch of Americans, but we love our footy, and I like to think we know what we're talking about.
Oh, you absolutely do. I've been on that podcast a few times, and I can assure you they're a fantastic group of lads, fantastic Spurs fans and Inside always on that podcast. So make sure to go and check them out. Will be linked in the description below. Bobby, let us know about your channel.
Yeah, Bobspur TV, like you say, Matt, it's just recently started. It's been a month or so. Just looking at the lighter things of all things Spurs, having a bit of a laugh. Obviously, when it needs to be serious, we do get serious. Bobspur Jr. is a special guest on most of them, and yeah, he brightens it up. But yeah, Bobspur TV, mad Spurs fan, and talk about anything but anything. But we'll do a regular show, which is the day after the day before, which is looking back at the day previous to the day, really, and having a good chat about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, another channel I highly recommend you go and check out, a new up-and-coming Spurs channel that I'm sure will be one of the big ones in no time. And Charlie, as well, do you want to plug your socials?
Yeah, so of course CharlieTHFC on YouTube. We're not uploading on there at the moment. However, I've got some stuff planned. We will be back come the end of the season on YouTube, so make sure you stay tuned for that. So yeah, I'm not there at the moment, but don't worry, everyone. I will be back come the end of the season. So yeah, CharlieTHFC as it says there. Yeah, that's the channel.
Again, another channel I highly recommend you go and check out. I'm glad to hear you'll be coming back, Charlie. Links to those 3 channels will be down in the description below. But with the 100 people that are still left here, if you are new to Mate's Tottenham blog and you want more content, including Tottenham watch-alongs, the Tottenham Fan Voice podcast, previews, reviews, and any type of Spurs content you could want, including this Transfer Talk series over the international break, do hit that subscribe button down below. If you want exclusive access to extra content and member call-in shows before every single game, do hit that. The join button down below as well, and make sure to smash the like on the stream. And just before we go, we've another super chat here from Kev Williams with the £1.99. Kev, thank you very much for that. It is massively appreciated. Just how would you rate Nicolas Gonzalez? I think he's a bit raw as a footballer, but he's probably one that has the potential to really become one of the big players in European football. He's Argentinian, playing with Stuttgart. He is quite young as well. I've a video up about him if you want to go and check that out, but I'd be really, really excited if this did happen. Before we do go, Dakota, you have something you want to say?
Yeah, I just had a question for you real quick. Would you rather have Kyle Walker as your goalkeeper or Matt Doherty as your right winger?
Oh, God.
Walker in goal.
Do you know what? There was a stat. There was a stat last season when Kyle Walker was in goal. I don't know if it was the team he was playing against or whatever. It might have been. I forget what team it was against, but he was the only goalkeeper. Atalanta, that's what it was. He was the only goalkeeper to keep a clean sheet against Atalanta in the Champions League that season. And that is my favourite ever stat. It might only have been like 11 minutes. It was absolutely incredible. They scored like 150 goals all season, and Kyle Walker keeps a clean sheet. I absolutely love it. So look, I'd have to say Kyle Walker is my goalkeeper. It's 7 minutes into that game, and I'm afraid to check the score. Matt Doherty in right wing. I can't deal with that. I can't. Watch how he goes on and scores a hat trick. Imagine he does.
He's actually he's got 2 goals.
I can never. John, last season throughout the entire of 2020, Ireland scored 1 goal. Our goal of the season was a Shane Duffy header from a corner because we didn't score any other goal.
So no goals from open play.
No goals from open play. And brought in a new manager, Stephen Kenny, in his first 4 games ended 0-0. I don't watch Ireland for a reason. It is the most boring thing I've ever watched in my life. Look, I could sit here and rant about the state of Irish football for a long time, but we are going to wrap it up there. To the 3 of you wonderful guests, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for your insight, and to the just over 1,000 people that joined us over the last 52 or so minutes. Thank you very, very much for your time. And as always, thanks for watching.
Coach.